have $100, and at the end of this month, you have paid maybe 100% of your rent. That's a huge goal. It's life-changing stuff.
How do you look at the whole situation around Wonderland, looking back now that you've had time to reflect?
The whole concept around Wonderland has been how do you empower individuals as a group, and the value of being the community probably is worth more than the capital itself. And exploring that concept and idea, this is what Wonderland was.
Daniele Sestagali, a DeFi veteran, the founder and CEO of Hey Anon.ai, an AI-driven decentralized finance platform that integrates artificial intelligence with blockchain technology to simplify and automate DeFi interactions.
How do you view just the evolution of AI into the general world of living?
It's amazing. The idea is that through Hey Anon, which is my new project, I've been working on how do you leverage AI in every aspect of crypto.
Do you believe that a business can run efficiently and actually scale while being a DAO? Welcome back to the Lock In or Log Off podcast, where I speak to builders, creators, and traders to understand how they spotted the opportunity and how they navigated their way to success. Today, we're joined by Daniele from Hey Anon. How's it going, man?
Hello everyone. It's going great. Thank you very much for inviting me here.
No worries. It's great to have you on. What a story you've had in this space, and also just what a personality you are across the timeline and everything like that. So I was quite looking forward to this one. Dive into both, everything you've done in the space. There's so much to potentially dive into, but I tend to like to kind of take things back and kind of look at the past before we kind of look at the present. And I wanted to understand from your perspective now, how do you look at the whole situation around Wonderland, looking back now that you've had time to reflect and it's a few years later?
I think that crypto is the most interesting playground for experimentation. The whole concept and around Wonderland has been how do you empower individuals as a group, empower them with the same capabilities of a venture capital, because we have seen that the last cycle, and still even this cycle, I would argue, has been very dominated by larger capital acquisitions and really pushed the whales, right? They have been manipulating the market. And my concept with Wonderland was like, how do I first gamify the way in which people can collectively create a treasury? And in the second phase of it was the idea of like, what is the actual premium of a venture capital, and what is the value in crypto, and the value being the community probably is worth more than the capital itself. And exploring that concept and idea, this is what Wonderland DAO was. And interestingly enough, it's still historically the largest DAO ever made. I feel like the experiment was very interesting. Obviously, going back and looking back of everything, I wish maybe I could have handled the public relationship at the moment of the situation with the Sifu much better. Also, I could have done more, honestly, because we could have kept it. Like, in my opinion, could have held more. But there is something about breaking something and then putting it all together. There is the Japanese art of doing it in a certain way. And at that moment, probably I wasn't zen enough to put it all together with gold and make it a more beautiful plate, right? But obviously now I'm in that phase in which I have spent a couple of years really reflecting and taking care of my own health and my own life. And now I'm taking all these pieces that I have left from last time, and I'm trying to make this new plate and put it together with gold, just like a Japanese style, right? And this is what is my takeaway of Wonderland. There is beautiful pieces out there that can construct even bigger art. And this is what I've been doing in the last 6 months with my new projects.
I think it's amazing. I think a lot of people forget just how early the space is. And especially like when you done Wonderland, there wasn't too much you could look back on to learn from. It was kind of, you had to pioneer in that space and kind of learn as it kind of went. Out of interest specifically, something that's I think aged very differently to how people perceived it, and it was at the core of decentralization, and that's DAOs specifically. Do you believe that a business can run efficiently and actually scale while being a DAO?
Yes. So, well, this is kind of a reveal here on your podcast. But the idea is that through Hey Anon, which is my new project, I've been working on how do you leverage AI in every aspect of crypto. One of the most interesting aspects is obviously we have seen, for example, Kaito leveraging AI for mindshare and following things and figuring things out about tweets, and but that also you need to think about it in a different context. So AI is very, very good on summarizing and figuring out what the community wants. And as you start looking into this, you start realizing that one of the most interesting aspects and the most difficult things about decentralized autonomous organizations is governance. And how do we leverage AI to really bring the governance to be easy is where I'm really looking forward working towards. And this is part of my obvious experimentation across everything that I have done. There is one thing that we released last week that is called Pulse. Pulse is basically using our Gemma that is part of Hey Anon to take all the details, all the conversation that have been around the projects on Telegram, Twitter, etc., and compressing that into actually valuable insights and giving scores to people based on their engagement inside of Telegram groups, inside of like Discord groups, also commenting on important figures inside of Twitter related to the community. And that is the first bigger attempt that then you just trim down in specific detailing for governance. So you need to, my idea here has always been like take the biggest challenge possible, like the hardest one, and out of the hardest one you're going to be able to chop it down into different products while you are researching and experimenting into it and figuring out how to solve the bigger problem. Right, and this translates very well, for example, in space exploration. Space exploration has been the most profitable, strangely, of any type of ventures. But why? Because most of the technology that we have right now, for example, the European Space Agency has invented the how it's called for moving on the phone. Accelerometer that you use every day on your iPhone has been invented for the space exploration. And but the goal wasn't to make the accelerometer. The goal was much higher.
Yeah.
And the same for me is how do I get to compress conversation into really interesting bites that then can be used and leveraged, especially in governance. So now I do believe that AI is a bit like the resonance for everything. And in specific terms about decentralized autonomous organization, it can solve the largest challenge, which is basically dynamically understand the direction where the community wants to go and present what the community wants to do to everyone.
How do you avoid manipulation of that? Because when people understand that that is how it's basically decided for decisions of the company, we obviously see whenever a system like this is kind of created, manipulation comes from like people with certain incentives will find a way to try and manipulate something like this. Like, how do you see that? Is it again AI has to try, like you use AI to try find the solution to that problem?
Well, you need to think that AI is barely a filter, right? Like people can understand manipulation. So what AI does can figure out if there is a certain incentive beyond what it can be, right? But in general, you are exclusively presenting for people that don't have enough time to participate into governance on a daily basis a better way to overall look into the direction that the community is going. On the other hand, you can see that if somebody is trying to manipulate, that's human nature. like we are going back into the problem of democracy and the Greek philosophy of that, right? And that it's pretty much unavoidable. Like you will never be able to do anything without that involves the people and democracy without having someone trying to push his own agenda, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like you will have this entity, which is AI, that has been specifically created in that sense of decentralized autonomous organization now that we are talking about, and governance has been created to look for these people, right? It's been created to look for these people and that also to really care about the interest of the collective, not of the single, right? And that still evolves into presenting things, helping people to create proposals, right? But still, at the end of the day, the votes are going to be in the hands of token holders or shareholders of the DAO. So the autonomous AI agent, for example, that we can call it, for example, I call it autonomous governance agent, like is capable of summarizing, presenting, helping, but it's not an executor. Like that is not his goal or her goal or its goal, right? It's barely a layer of help to make participation easier.
Yeah, I think I'm interested to see how that plays out, because I think that is an area that we haven't been able to master on the DAO side of things. We've seen a lot of people attempt it, and yeah, a lot of them tend to fade into inefficiencies in many ways. But I think AI is an interesting way to solve for that. But going a little bit back to the time, like reflecting on what happened over at Wonderland, and that must have been a pretty hard period for you as an individual. We've obviously seen the recent events with the likes of Zerebro and the founder there go through some strange things to be able to like get away from all the criticism and the hate that's happened to him as an individual. We see founders across the industry tend to get a lot of criticism and hate if things go wrong for an ecosystem. How did you handle that period?
I went fishing.
That is a
Like
great
everybody
solution.
Like I'm a person that is very goal oriented. So fishing is amazing because there is always a bigger fish to catch. Like there is no way, like somebody has caught a bigger fish than you. There is always a more remote place where you can try to go to get it, and all of that. And also that has been pretty much my touching grass type of situation.
That is a strong way to do it. I think that's a healthy escape compared
And
to
no
most.
internet.
No
Okay,
internet.
you would be surprised how good that is.
Yeah, just a complete detox.
Yeah, I've been with my friends in multiple places without internet over the past years, and you can see how the table changes.
Yeah.
Like the first day, maybe not, but the second day it does.
So much more relaxed.
So much more relaxed and so much more connection.
Yeah.
Like which is it's very hard. I feel like for a younger generation to do it, and it's hard for me too.
Yeah.
Like for everyone, it's hard, but it's very good exercise for mental health.
Yeah, I think it's being able to detach, especially in Web3. I think the more and more time I spend in Web3, I think the more and more so chronically online I've become. And taking time off definitely is a struggle. But I think, yeah, especially in those situations where it can seem pretty bad, but the wave goes past, and often like taking a step back, realizing the bigger picture often helps. But you had a quote that you put out pretty recently, and it was, "Betting against me isn't brave, it's suicidal. I don't sleep, I don't stop, I don't forget. This isn't hustle, it's vengeance disguised as ambition." Where does that vengeance be fueled from?
I feel like that at a certain stage in the last cycle, I had all the units in place to go to war, and my goal was to really reclaim for the people the throne that they have, which is the ownership of decentralized finance. Now, through AI, I came back because that is where really we can make it much, much, much easier for people to participate. And then instead of having a DAO doing it for them, it's basically them just doing it because it's the right thing to do. Like before we had obviously treasury management. That doesn't mean that I am considering relaunching Wonderland, but as an AI, decentralized autonomous organization. But that doesn't mean that people can't do the same, but individually.
Yeah.
So then the capital flows because is the best opportunity, because this farm is the best farm, because this LP is the safest or has the least amount of impermanent loss, because this coin has been scanned by HUD and it doesn't have a bad number of insiders or KOLs has been buying or whatever. Like tooling is what you need to give. And my revenge is about giving the best tools to everyone. And then we play in the field, because then there is no more edge.
But then how do you how do you, because not everyone can technically win.
Not really, like it's dispersion the problem. Like now capital is dispersed.
Yeah.
Like a lot of projects that are not good, realistically, absolutely not good, receive capital. We want to not disperse capital and focus capital, and then everybody potentially win. Like I don't say everyone, but we are directing
As an industry, we become a lot better.
Yes, we are directing capital in the right direction. We are giving money to the right founders. Like this is a competitive. Like look, let's do the meme coin example, because it's the hardest. So I put myself in the hardest challenge. I said, okay, now product market fit fundamental. We have arrived at a certain stage in which DeFi integration, all of the things that we were doing on the app layer were good. Substance was there. Now I needed to figure out what is important right now in crypto. And I realized that the biggest thing of last cycle was that you could arrive with $100 in DeFi summer and actually make like 10,000.
Yeah.
That's it. Like we're not going over like no millionaires with $100. Okay, that's not realistic.
Yeah.
But that was very good. Right now, you arrive in DeFi with $100. If you come out from MakerDAO with 106 at the end of the year, you have been pretty good.
Yeah.
You know. So now, and everything else that gives you more, it's a high risk. It's very high.
Yeah,
like
meme
very
coins are like insanely high risk.
Now, meme coins, on the other hand, like are very high risk, but also very high reward.
Yeah.
So now, the only path for someone to move from 100 to 1,000, let's be more realistic here, is through meme coin launches. This is what it is right now. Now, which is totally fine. The problem here is that there is so much noise in which at the end, again, we're going into the dispersion of capital. Capital is dispersed across a lot of farms, a lot of bad devs, a lot of projects that are not good, a lot of narratives that are not clear. And but still, there is a lot to gain. And if you look at what should be the goal of a person approaching crypto, a real goal would be that you have $100, and at the end of this month, you have paid maybe 100% of your rent. That's a huge goal.
Yeah.
Like it's life-changing stuff.
Yeah.
Like we don't need to change completely with the GT3 RS bullshit, okay? Let's start to say that there is a student that is 19 years old, is betting sport, because that's what people do right now. And instead of betting sports, which can be okay, but you lose 100%, he could invest in meme coins, could speculate in meme coins, okay? Now, if at the end of the month we turned his $50 or $100 into $1,000, but clearly we specified that this is not life-changing stuff.
Yeah,
it's fine as it is. Like he needs to cheat, it's fine.
Yeah,
like you know,
there's some cheats in there. Yeah.
And also we need to stop the culture that because this younger generation will enter certain coins that yes, they will enter at 100K market cap with $100. This coin will run $1 billion.
Yeah,
maybe, but there should be no stigma.
Yeah,
out of it. They are purely there for profits. Now, we need to help them here in this journey. So I put myself in those shoes for a month. And what I did is, okay, now I have tools. I'm a dev, right? I'm going into the trench hard. Like, I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah.
So I called a few of my friends. I knew that they were in the trenches. I connected with the best traders that are out there. I started to go inside of FNF groups, and started discussing and seeing what happens and everything. And what I did is, okay, I have one soul. I can't lose it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna have one soul ever again.
Yeah.
I put that myself in that kind of shoes, right?
Yeah.
Like, and if I lose, I'm gonna disappear. Like, it's basically a lost user of crypto, And I'm saying, okay, what do I want to see first to commit into a coin early? So first, I was looking into, okay, I want to be fast. Like, I want to see things before others.
Yep.
So I started creating in the HUD this tool that you highlight anything like a tweet or whatever, and it filters the bonding curves automatically. So as soon as I see it on PumpFun, I can commit it. And that helps for things like Elon Musk tweets and things like that obviously have always some sort of upside because of the momentum, right? So you're buying the flow. But if you're very early into buying the flow, then it's almost guaranteed that you can JIT it properly.
Yeah.
Like, literally. So that was my first idea. Then I started to look into latency of this. And I started tracking what time a coin is presented on Axiom or Photon versus when a coin is presented on Pump.
Yep.
Okay. And I realized that in some instances, you have almost 30 seconds of latency, man.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. That can literally mean from like 1 million to like 50 in some cases.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's why I said, okay, hold on a second. I'm doing the overlay in places where I'm not giving that much of an advantage. So I went and did the overlay also on PumpFun, which is actually underrated platform for trading.
Yeah.
Like, it's free.
Yeah.
Like, it's good. It's faster.
Yeah.
Like, it's in front of everyone. You see the bonding curve faster. Then I'm like, okay, but why do people don't trade on PumpFun directly? And I look into Axiom, and I see that Axiom presents some things good. Like, for example, insider bundles, things like that have been presented a bit nicer.
Yeah.
Maybe can be a reason. The other reason is very likely that is very heavily reliant on referrals.
Yeah, network effect.
So it has that network effect. So people just use it just to be cool.
Yeah.
Or whatever, post their card or whatever, which is fair enough. But we should not care about this. Like, what we build is tools to make from 100 to 1,000. That's the focus. So I said, okay, so then this is interesting, but it's not enough. Like, okay, now every week I can hit one coin like this, but I need to hit more. Like, it's not enough to have Poseidon and hit it, and okay, I did 10x.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, because also you need to think that you don't want to force people to commit 100% of their capital.
Yeah, if you have one soul, you're not putting it all into the first meme coin you see.
You're not putting one soul on Poseidon because of a meme of Elon. I mean, I would do it.
But, don't get so would I, but I probably shouldn't.
No, I shouldn't, but it shouldn't be what we want, right? So we have multiple. We need to figure out other ways to help them. So now I started looking and saying, okay, what is interesting about meme coins at the moment is that everything is on chain. So who more than me is an expert on on-chain stuff? Yeah. Like from back in the days of MEV, JIT, all of this stuff pretty much I invented.
Yeah,
I've been in the forefront of all of these. So I'm like, okay, let's start looking into how I can gain an edge on understanding real-time on-chain data while it's happening.
Yeah.
And there is multiple categories of things that start impacting a chart. So category number 1, KOLs. Truth. Yeah. Why? Because obviously is the first line of shilling, basically. And I feel like there is 3 categories of KOLs. There is the farmer, because the farms copy traders
Yeah.
that I need to highlight. Okay, and I need to put it. That doesn't mean that it's not good
Yeah.
for our purpose.
Yeah.
But is one category. There is the ultra high conviction player, like narrative player, that is just boom. Like
Puts
it
in, like,
enters
1,000
like
soul.
pow.
Yeah.
I don't know if you follow any Poe or Gake.
Yeah.
Like these guys are awesome, but they are insane conviction players. Like, and then you have the average KOL Schiller that either is an insider or is a decent trader.
Yeah.
But it has leverage. It has motion.
Yeah.
And it usually rotates.
Yeah.
Like it's not always every week the same.
Yeah.
So we need to categorize these people and we need to find their addresses. But most of these things are public because is of public interest for them to be followed.
Yeah.
And it's not bad. In my opinion, it's good because it puts attention. We go back to the attention point that we need to funnel capital into the same things. If not, we disperse.
Yeah.
So they are positive, a part of the farming one. But the farming ones, because they are always in the bonding curves all the time, they're going to hit something good.
Yeah.
Okay. And usually it's more than 2 or 3 of them at the same time because they all see the same thing.
Yeah.
And when they pull at the same time, then when they all buy at the same time, then it's interesting. Usually it commands a certain amount of flow or it commands a signal.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this can be obviously used as an advantage for them because they can kind of work together and farm even more. But still, it's an interesting early signal. So now I take all these addresses and I start looking. And I'm like, okay, I would like to open a contract address that someone I find in a FNF or whatever, or I found by myself, or I click on. And I would like to know a few things. First, I would like to know the weighted average price of entry of these categories. And that in a line, very clear line.
Yeah,
and that
simplify
would
the data to
very,
make it easily
very
digestible.
clear line. Because if I go on GMGN, it doesn't give me any data.
Yeah.
You give me a shitload of bubbles that I can't read with a lot of like profile pictures.
Yeah, a lot of information that you can't really digest.
And colorful and like,
looks pretty, but
cool.
It's not as useful.
Like it's not, it's sort of useful, but also not.
Yeah.
So I want very clearly the weighted average. Why? Because if I have 20 KOLs, some of them put one soul just as a signal, but I don't know how much they actually invested.
Yeah.
But others put a decent amount. So I want the actual average price of what was the commitment. Then I want to divide them further. I want to divide them 3 categories. I want to divide them of the new one that are 100% holding. I want to divide them into they bought and partially sold. Yeah. And the ones that jittered super high. Okay?
The soul chain.
Yes. So in these 3 categories, the new KOLs line is very interesting because you will see, I'm releasing HUD this week. You will see that it hacks very well as support because they might commit more and their followers might commit at the same average at when they did the call. Okay, so it's a band of support and liquidity coming in potentially in a reversal if it's coming down, right? Then you have a very interesting line that is the partial weighted average of how the KOLs has sold. Super interesting because of 2 reasons. It can act as 2 things. One thing, it can act as support because they might want to rebuy at the price. It's psychological. Yep. Or it acts as a potential if it goes below it. And I showed it on stream many times and we use the Crocodrillo Bombardillo and this happened and it crosses that line, you know, Italian brain rot. Because usually it might trigger actually emotional release and take profit. So it's an interesting like line and reference. And when usually it touches with TA, it's very solid. Then you have the weighted average of them. So you can clearly see how much, very easily see how much profit they have at the moment, right? And then you have the JIT lines. Now, this is not enough. I want to know more. Like this was my whole experience, right? I want to know more because the KOLs are good, but what about the top 10 holders?
Yeah.
These are the guys that are gonna nuke on me.
Yeah, they're gonna
Like-
they're
like,
waiting for people to come
they
in for the extra
end
liquidity.
the chart.
Yeah.
Like they literally end the chart. And additionally to this, I want to know what happened to the first 100 people that bought, right?
Interesting.
Because those are potential insiders.
Yeah.
Like what are they doing?
Yeah.
What did they do? Did they sell already? Because Dev sold that. This is crap. It's
Yeah.
useless. Like Dev sold.
Yeah.
Like if Dev didn't sold, I don't know. It's some cringe. There is some story behind it.
Yeah.
Like it means that is maybe a team that has team tokens. Like
Yeah.
but who I want to know what they did is and where they did it is the first 100 wallets, and from them I want to weight the ones that are still in the top 10 holders. Those has high weight to me.
Yeah.
Because those are both insiders, very likely, or so early but with a strange conviction.
Yeah, and at that point they're gonna sell at some point, right? Like you're up quite a lot.
Or they have an insane conviction for a reason. You understand? Like if they were really early,
Yeah.
they got lucky as fuck.
Yeah.
You know, it's possible.
Yeah.
Like you got insanely lucky, and then you're not selling. You have an insane amount of profit. Now you're scaling inside
not
of
even
the top
clipping out.
10. Yes, you're not clipping out at all. I want to know that behavior.
Yeah.
Right? I want to know that. And I want to highlight who of the top 100 are still, the first 100 are still top 10.
Yeah.
Or top 25. So I started having an idea of feelings, emotion. Like, and now how do I display all of this? So I think the top 10 weighted average price of buy should be displayed as a line because it's still very clear there. And their weighted average of partial selling also. I want to see it. Like I want to see where they have been selling and doing this stuff. Then what I want is starting to look into different ways to display wallet behavior that is related to the chart. So now we have bubbles. Now these little bubbles, we are capable of putting them dynamically as they happen. Any buy and sell happens inside, overlaying inside of any trading view chart on Axiom, on GMGN or whatever, because we clear everything that they present and we add our own. Now, what I want to see is also historically the behavior of the top 10 holders, but only the ones that have been the first 100. So now imagine that you're entering into this chart and you're like, I want to know what happened. I want to know in which status we are. So now obviously you're doing a snapshot of this moment in which you're looking, right? And this snapshot presents you the top 10 holders in this moment, the KOLs of this moment, the ones that sold completely, the ones that sold partially, the ones that fully own something, and all their weighted averages. So you have all these lines. But then you want to know the history. How did we get here? Because you see, maybe in the chart there has been a 90% and it's presenting a second wave, right? And you want to know who started this second wave. Because when you have all these super cool tools, you will find out that you will start creating your own trackers.
Yeah.
Because finally you can see behavior very clearly in a presentable way. And you say, okay, who do I want to track before our snapshot at the moment? And obviously JITs I wanted to track, so we already displayed. The guys that are still in, we already displayed. But now we want to see in the top 100, the first 100, which one was a top 10 holder at that point in time, and why it's not anymore, and where did he sell?
Yeah.
So that's the bubbles that I add before. And that is super interesting because then you're like, I see why nuked here.
Yeah.
Like nobody actually saw. This guy just one clip.
Yeah.
Or you see a different behavior. He was selling slowly.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, is it a market maker?
Yeah.
And why did he sell and it didn't actually impact the price? Is it moving funds to a new address?
Yeah.
Because it's possible too.
Sure.
Right? Is it slowly bundling in a different way?
Yeah.
Because these are all behaviors that you can do. And then you start have real insights of what is happening at the moment. Secondly, You have obviously you can add on the chart the top 10
Yeah.
also as bubbles, and you can watch whatever you want, and then you can select the KOLs to display on. And in my opinion, the filter that I'm using is they need to have a size to matter.
Yeah.
Because if not, it's useless. Like if you have a 0.001% of supply,
Yeah.
bro,
Not
bro,
gonna
I'm
have that
not
much of
gonna
an impact.
display.
Yeah.
Like it can have some feelings impact, like,
Yeah.
but not really.
Yeah.
Like I want to see someone that committed hard. People saw that committed, and if he sells, he sells.
Yeah.
And plus, I want to see the Meteora sells because people are using Meteora to hide their sales. So I want to display that too.
Interesting.
Then I want a second thing. What I want is Meteora overlay together with order book, normal AMM order book. Because when you're looking at charts, and here we start talking about following up into my trade, I want to look at technical analysis in a more smart way. TA is interesting, but for low cap coins, it works
Yeah.
in certain instances.
There's quite a few other variables that kind of play in that.
And in my opinion, you want to see what people are thinking. And Meteora, it's literally, and here we are talking about memecoins on Solana.
Yeah.
Like Meteora, it's a very good indicator because it's basically an order book. Now you have the normal order book, AMM, automated market maker, but then you can overlay certain Meteora positions and you see where there is pockets of buyers and sellers and reference that. And this is what I'm doing in next week version. Now I released the normal, but next week this is what I'm releasing, is to give my AI these pockets and cross-reference these pockets of liquidity with TA.
Interesting.
So you see that there is, for example, a support at a certain place. Are they selling before? Are they selling after? Is it matching? Is RSI multiple indicator together finding that in this chart there is maybe a market maker?
Yeah.
You understand? Like, and or is there is it really where are they really looking at TA?
Yeah.
So you can game or play according to this. Yeah.
With as we come towards the end, I've got a few things I want to understand from the AI side of things,
Yeah.
especially because there's quite a few topics that a lot of AI builders are currently discussing. One of it is just very much whether you're optimistic or pessimistic around the world with the evolution of AI. Because I was spoken to a few builders during Token, and some of them were very pessimistic, but they want to be optimistic. How do you view just the evolution of AI into the general world of living?
It's amazing. Like how can you be pessimistic about technology? Like we thought that we would have an industrial revolution again.
Yeah.
No, we're having the AI revolution, and AI is art. If you look at the Renaissance was almost like pushed by art, by creativity. This is the creativity revolution.
Yeah.
This is the biggest one of them. Like a train and petrol and all of this, yeah, make your life more comfortable, but art and beauty and creativity makes your life worth living.
Yeah.
So that's a whole other thing. I work with Pliny, that is our red teamer, that is pretty famous on X because he's the one that hacks all the AIs and all of this. And obviously, like sometimes we go dark into these kind of stuff.
What could be
like, but honestly, like all these things work because of a computer.
Yeah,
a computer, you can turn it off, man.
Yeah, if you put it down,
like let's make it very simple.
Yeah.
Like there
There's
is much more evil in people than there is in something coded, right? And there is so much beauty into where we are going with AI that it makes to me absolutely nonsense to even think that this is not good. Who says it's not good doesn't know it.
And with one of the challenges AI faces a lot at the moment is hallucinations. Mm-hmm. How do you see that playing out in the next 6 months to a year?
Well, in our, I made one of my first articles that was about this, RAG, hallucinations, and strict tooling. We use a different way giving tooling to AI that it's called strict tooling. So it cannot go beyond.
It has barriers to be
Yes,
able
it
to work
has
within.
very specific barriers, and people don't know. But I always say that ChatGPT and OpenAI is a particularly good company, because if you think about AI applied to Fortune 500 companies, you do need compliance, and you will never be able to sell an operative system because I do believe that AI is basically the new Microsoft, the Windows type of operating system. You can't sell them something that is unhinged.
Yeah.
And OpenAI, it's very good in that, and other companies too. But strict tooling is what I care about. And if you say to Hey Anon, do this, if it's not gonna hallucinate, if it doesn't know how to do it, it's not gonna do anything.
Yeah, it's got a strict boundaries as such.
Yeah.
Final question as we kind of wrap everything up. What are you most, outside of Hey Anon and what you're building, what are you most excited about within the AI and blockchain industry that you've seen?
I actually like creative tools. Like I would like to see more AI and NFTs.
Yeah.
Like I feel like we are really missing opportunity here with that, because it's so interesting, and especially dynamically created NFTs on blockchain events or real world events and things like
constantly
that. Constantly evolving, because that's very unique stuff.
Yeah.
And it can only be represented by blockchain technology because it's proven. Like there is a lot of like deeper, interesting intersection in between art and AI. And additionally, I would like to see that probably translating into like agents that do this kind of things. Like I really liked Cerebro, for example, in some conceptual way.
Yeah, the artistry side of things. It had its own NFTs. It had its own mixtape.
Why not?
Very cool.
Like I like that. Like I think that the personality is interesting. Is it worth billions? No.
Oh yeah,
let's stop saying that.
Crazy.
Like no. Is it cool though?
Yeah.
Only yes.
Yeah, very
like
cool.
Let's do more of that.
Yeah.
And also let's incentivize people to do it and take off the stigma of launching coins about it.
Yeah.
It's no problem. But I want to see more creative stuff, because in a way, like we pretty much, like in my part, I'm doing a lot of heavy lifting on the blockchain side. So eventually in the next months, I've done pretty much everything that is related to real usage of AI and crypto without. Decentralizing models, I'm not really into that. Like I don't see the value yet. Like I think it needs performance, not decentralization. It needs to be fast. But eventually it's useful. But this is art.
Yeah, art is. I'm excited to see more. I want to see more innovation and creativity with AI. But thank you very much for coming on, Daniele. It's been an absolute pleasure. One of the most interesting conversations I've had. It's a fascinating world with AI, but especially the intersection with AI and DeFi, but also just AI and blockchain. So yeah, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you, sir.
Looking forward to what you have building.
Thank you.
Amazing.